What up, nerds? I'm Bammed, and this is CTF and Cigars by Bam CTF, where I light up a cigar and talk about CTF and security related things. Um, this week, I am going to be continuing on the theme that we started last week, talking about Cheat Engine and writing some game cheats. But before we get started for that, let's start with the cigar. This week, I'm bringing back one of my favorites that I smoked a few weeks ago. This is the Oliva, the Series V Melanio. So this is one of the ones that I try to always keep on hand. I really enjoy these. I smoke them pretty regularly. It's got a real fruity kind of floral scent to it. And when you smoke it, it starts off with very woody and earthy. There's a bit of that floralness, but it becomes more earthy as you start it off. It's got a real sort of subtle pepperness at the beginning, and that quickly subsides, becomes a bit more leathery, and then there's a bit of sweetness. So like some chocolate, but hint of caramel during that first third. The second third of it, that leather backs off a bit. It becomes more sweet, so there's a bit more of that caramel flavor. A bit of coffee becomes dominant, and then until you move to that last third, and you get more of that leatheriness and that pepper. So it's got a nice kind of kick near the end. Really enjoyable cigar. So before I get started on that, let me just talk a little bit about cigar cutters and how you can cut these. So there's different ways to cut a cigar. The most common way is just with a straight cut, using like a guillotine cutter. So there's a few different types of guillotine cutters. This is a single blade guillotine cutter. So you've just got the one blade, you put the cigar in there, and you cut that tip off. The single blades, these are going to be the cheapest that you can find. This one actually came with my ashtray. It's kind of built into it. But the single blades, they're not great. They'll get the job done, but they don't make a nice even cut. So you'll often end up with a bit of sort of excess debris because it's not a real straight cut, a real great cut. Then you've got the double blade. So this is also a pretty cheap one. It's got the two blades. It does a little bit of a better job. If you've ever been to a bar where they've got an outdoor porch and they sell cigars, usually they'll give you one of these with it. Like I said, these are also pretty cheap. But then you can get a little bit nicer guillotines. So this is a Zycar. Let's see, this is the Zycar. Yeah, it's the XI1. So it's got a little button on that side. You push that down, it opens up. Again, you slide it in there, you squeeze, it locks in place. It's a little bit sharper. These make a nice straight cut, so you get a great cut with that. You don't have to worry about the cigar kind of falling apart on you. But then there's some other types of cuts. So this is a V cut cutter. So this is another Zycar. It is the VX2. So I don't know if you can see that. There's a bit of a V to that blade. So we pop that up and you just slide that down. Now this one actually has a guide. So when you put the cigar in there, it only goes in so far and it gives you a pretty perfect V. The other type of cutter, and I don't have one handy nearby. I think it might be in my car. I don't know. But there's also the punch. So the punch is just a circular blade and it just punches a hole through the tip. So the punch is, you get a much smaller hole for the smoke to come through, so it gets a bit more concentrated, but it just puts a little hole at the tip, so it definitely is the best for like keeping your cigar together the whole time. But I'm going to use the V cut today. So the V cut, let me go ahead and cut this here. So we'll put that in there. You just push down. Like I said, it's got a guide, but you get this V on the cigar. Now, the couple things this does, you've got a little more surface area for the smoke because of the V there. It also is very good. Make sure you don't accidentally cut too much and get past the tip of the cigar, the head where or the cap, excuse me, where that's kind of holding it together, so it's not going to fall apart. I got cigar all over my keyboard here. Sorry about that. but it also kind of pulls that together. You get a bit more concentrated flavor near the end as the smoke kind of builds up in the cigar as well. So that's gonna try the V cut out. I've really just started using the V cut, and I've enjoyed it so far. So let's light that up. Get the cigar going. So I've also got a Zycar brand lighter. This has got the four burners butane lighter. You can probably hear it. I'm doing it right over the microphone. Yeah, so it's definitely starts off very woody, very earthy. When you do the retrohale, you get some of that pepper. So the retrohale, that's when you're breathing out through your nose with the cigar. All right, so this is what we're going to be smoking today as we do some game cheats. So let's go back to Cheat Engine. Like I said, we kind of started with this last week, looking at at Cheat Engine and how that works. And I started doing the tutorial game last week, but I selected the wrong value, ended up crashing on me, and we we're running low on time, so I kind of quit that and we moved on to something else. So I'm going to go back and finish that. So with Cheat Engine, and you can just Google it, it's a free application you can download. There's a tutorial that it'll start through. We'll kind of walk you through the basics of how to use it, but then there's also this Cheat Engine tutorial game in the help menu. And I've already gone through all three of them, so I have access to them all, but you start off just with level 1. Oh, my aim is off. All right, so I'm going to choose level 3. All right, so this tutorial game, the goal is to mark all the platforms green to unlock the door. Enemies are one-hit kills. So if we get hit with the enemy, we're dead. The goal, we've got this door over here on the right. We've got to jump on all these platforms to unlock it. Now, once we do that, all the enemies move around the door. They surround it, so you actually can't get through. We've got to figure out a way to get through the enemies without dying. So let's just restart here. So what we want to do here is figure out where in the code the collision happens. And we're going to do that by figuring out, we're going to start off with figuring out where the variables are stored in memory that store the player's current location. So we're looking for the X and the Y values because this is just a 2D game. This, of course, gets more complicated with 3D games. There's a Z axis as well to worry about. So we'll start off with looking for a value in memory. Now, we don't know what the starting value is, but we can make a pretty good guess on what type of value it is. So X, Y coordinates, or X, Y, and Z coordinates are usually going to be a float. So if you're familiar with data types in programming in C or other languages, a float is different than an integer. Integer is just a whole number, without a decimal point. Float numbers include decimal points. We don't know the value yet, so we don't actually have like an XY map here that tells us what our X and Y coordinates are. So we don't know what the value is. We're going to start with an unknown initial value. So this is going to do a first scan. Sorry, I didn't attach it to the process, so I got to attach it to the process first. Nope, don't need to save anything. All right, I need to start over. So an unknown initial value, it's a float. So it's going to do a scan, and what we've got is essentially it's just saving a list. There's over 4 million addresses in memory that are just a float. So this is just the virtual memory for this game, and we've got 4 million float values. So all right, so we've got these addresses stored. Now what we want to do, we're going to just move to the right. So if this is a X coordinate, as you move to the right, that is going to increase. So we're just going to search for an increased value. Now we've brought our list down from 4 million to 4,000. So as I move to the right, there were 4,000 values that moved, that increased. Now I'll move to the right again. We'll do this again. Let me move back, and then we'll look for a decreased value. All right, now that we've got them down to about 100, if you notice when I just clicked on the screen, So this shows us when values have changed. You can see they've turned red. There are a bunch of values that have changed, but my character hasn't moved. So I'm going to look for an unchanged value. We'll do that a few times and kind of reduce the number of things we're looking at. All right, we're down to 36. So we'll keep doing this. We'll move forward, look for an increased value. Okay, so it looks like we've got something here. So I've added this to my list. Watch that value as I move forward. It goes up. As I move back, it goes down. All right, so this is a negative value. Just keep that in mind. All right, now let's just test this out. I can write a specific value to this. So let's just put a 1 in here. And I teleported. Looks like I teleported off the screen. Uh-oh. I love it when demos break in the middle of the demo. Okay, so we're going to have to start this over. Sorry about that. One thing to keep in mind, when you're actively changing values in memory, you can sometimes have unexpected results. So we are going to just start over. Okay, maybe we can get it quicker this time. So we got a float. Let's see, we need to do a new scan. We've got a float of an unknown initial value. We will move to the right, look for an increased value. Move to the left. We look for a decreased value. Do this a couple more times. Let's clear up some of these unchanged values. All right, we're down to 60. All right, let's move to the right a bunch. Okay, we've got something there. Okay, so this looks like our x coordinates. Let's go with that. Now we've got our x coordinate. Let's call it x. I'm not going to force a value in there again. I don't want to break it again. Okay, so that's our x coordinate. We can probably make a good guess on where our y coordinate is if we disassemble this memory region. Huh. All right, all this was working perfectly half an hour ago. I love doing live shows because everything always breaks when you're doing a live demo. There's some kind of law about that. All right, we will try this one more time. And you can probably tell I'm not great at aiming. All right, let's attach this to the game. But hey, you get to see this multiple times, see how to find things. All right, so we're looking for a float of an unknown initial value. We'll do our first scan. We will move, look for an increased value. Move back, look for a decreased value. All right, let's move a bunch. Uh-oh. Try not to kill myself this time. Increased value. Let's clear things out with some unchanged values. Let's go forward again. Anyway, just doing this back and forth till you find the address in memory that you're pretty sure is the x coordinate. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's this one. just because I've done this a few times and I know that negative 0.4 is around this area on the map. It's just taken some, I've done this a few times, so I'm able to just kind of guess that's it. So let's try this again. So if this is our x coordinate, just want to try to find my y coordinate. So we will disassemble this address or this memory address. Okay, so this looks right. Now let's make this a little bit easier to view. We're going to view these in 4-byte hex values. Sorry, not hex. We want this in, this is a float, my bad. Okay, so these are float values, right? So as we move, let's see, do we still have the right address space? Maybe it's browse. Sorry, it's not disassemble. Sorry, the disassemble controls what I'm seeing up here. What I want is just to browse the memory address. All right, so we can see our float here of negative 0.39. Now there's a 0.60 here. Usually X and Y coordinates are going to be stored together, so you'll usually see them side by side. So this is probably our Y, and we'll do is we'll test that. I'm just going to jump. Okay, so you can see that changing as I jump. So this is going to be our Y coordinate. We're going to add that to our list. We'll call that Y. Okay, so we have our X and Y coordinates. Oh, actually, let's go back to memory. So now we want to see some other values. So normally all of your variables around your player character are going to be stored in a, similar location in memory. So they're all going to be around here. All of these are probably have something to do with our player character. We know this is X. We know this is Y. What I want to do is figure out what happens when we have a collision with an enemy. All right, so you can see it highlights in red everything that changes. So there's a number of things that change. Now, a collision is a binary event. It either happens or it doesn't happen. So what we're probably looking for when we have a collision is either a 0 that turns to a 1 or a 1 that turns to a 0. And this is just going to take some watching here. But when I get hit, let's see. Gotta find the right addresses here. Just going to keep watching till I see it. And I probably should have written down the actual addresses so I could see this a little closer. Actually, we probably should change the display type. Let's look for 4-byte hex. Okay, so I believe this is one, so watch this address space that I just highlighted. So when I get a collision, see that changes to a 1. So that's one possible value. Let's add that to our list and we'll kind of keep an eye on that. And I believe there's another one we want to watch for. And I think it's nearby. So there is this one as well. Now I want to be careful because one of these last week I added that to my list, and when I started working with it, it kind of crashed the program. I don't want to crash things again. So let me just look a little bit more. Pretty sure there's a different one somewhere. Okay, well, I'm not seeing it, so let's test these out. So I've got these two values. What I can do is I can freeze these. And let's hope it doesn't crash. Okay, so it did lock up. Let's see what happens when I unfreeze them. Okay, so one of those is going to lock us up. So let's not do that one. Let's try that top one and see what happens. Okay, so that's still, we still died there when we froze that one. There we go. Okay, so this one, the collision still occurs, but it's just made us invisible. We can still see when we die. If I jump around, like my character is still there, you just can't see them. So that is okay. And now we're dead. Okay. So there are two values, and I didn't find the other one, but one controls whether or not the character is visible. I believe this is the one that actually controls whether or not the character is dead. So let's trace this. All right, let's find out what rights to. You know, before we do that, let's just see what happens. Wait, did I just close? No. Okay. All right, it was this one, right? There we go. Okay, so let's find out what rights to this address. Okay, so we've got that. So we're seeing there's a move. We've got an address space, so RBX plus 40. We're moving the value 1 into that space. Let's show that in our disassembler. So we know that when we get hit, this value moves to 1, and that declares us as dead. But let's kind of trace that back. So I want to avoid a collision, because when we, like, I can replace this with code that does nothing, and I can, you know, get hit, but I'm still alive. But I just want to avoid collisions altogether. Let's restore this with the original code. And let's trace this. So what we can do a break and trace. So this is going to add a debugger, and we're going to break when this instruction occurs. So we're setting a breakpoint here, but then it's going to trace right now it's set to the next 1,000 lines to see what else happens. So what we're trying to do is figure out what ends up calling this area in memory, so we can go back and see like where the collision occurs. Now I've tried this a few times. By default, it goes to 1,000 lines. You don't want to make this too high, because the more it has to trace, the longer it's going to take. But I'm going to go ahead and do this to 10,000, because I know 1,000 wouldn't work. And also I've checked this step over instead of a single step, because we don't need to step into each function as it's called. We basically just want to keep stepping through the program until we return. And then we can figure out what actually called this in the first place. All right, so we'll start that, and we'll do a collision. All right, now this is going to take a minute. It's going to keep tracing the program, take a few minutes for that to happen, and we'll just sit here and wait a minute. So yeah, I'm definitely moving on from the earthy floral flavor to a bit of a leatheriness to this wonderful Melanio. And we will continue waiting. So yeah, tracing back 10,000 lines can take a while. I tried 1,000 and I tried 5,000, but I didn't really get results, so I went up to 10,000. So this will take a few minutes, or another few seconds anyway. And if you want to make sure it's not locked up, you can scroll down to the bottom. You can see it's still adding more lines as we go. So it's still tracing. When it's finished, here we go. We'll see. So we can see if it's actually traced back, and we have, you know, where functions have been called and have been returned. We can see there's an arrow here. So what we want to do, okay, it's finished. We can expand all, And what we can see here, so this is the address where we started. This is where the value 1 was moved to that address space. So we don't care about this. We want to go back to the previous functions. We can close this. And this is where the previous function, where when that function finishes, where it returns to. So we can double click on that and go back to our debugger here. And if we scroll up a bit, all right, so we can see where there was a call. So a call in assembly is basically just where a function is called. So it's calling this other address and running the function inside of that, and then it returns here. And then when it returns, we move from there. So this is where, when the collision occurs, this is what's called. Now, if we scroll up a bit more, we can see there is a jump above this, a couple lines. And there's a little red line here, so you can see what, you can kind of tell exactly where it's jumping. So it's doing a comparison. There's a test that occurs up here. And then if the test returns equal, so JE means jump if equal. So if it is equal, then it's going to jump to this instruction, and it's going to bypass this function call. And this function call is basically character is dead. So probably what we want to do is let's see if we can change this. Let's see what happens if we change that JE to just a jump. So we're not doing a test anymore. We're just going to straight jump over the call to the character being dead. All right, let's see what happens then. All right, it worked. Finally, the demo's working. So we've just basically bypassed collision detection for the enemies. Now let's make sure it doesn't bypass all collision detection. All right, we still can activate our platforms. Great. So let's change this back, and we're going to write a cheat engine script so we can do this. We can repeat this in the future. So we'll do tools and auto assemble, and then we're going to do an AOB injection. So the auto assemble, it lets you write a cheat engine script that will find this address in memory, and when you enable the cheat, it will replace it. Now we're not jumping to the die function, we're jumping over the die function. Yeah, so somebody was asking in chat, just to point this out. So this is the die function, and the jump if equal, it actually jumps here past it. So when I change that to a jump, it just skipped everything related to dying. Okay, so we started the auto symbol. I used the AOB template. So the AOB, it finds this array of bytes. It's looking for unique byte values. Because of ASLR, when you load a program in memory, the address space isn't always going to be the same. So you can't just specify an address or a memory address. You've got to have some kind of reference point to start from. So that's what this AOB template does for you. It simplifies things a bunch. We'll just change that JE, that jump if equal, to a jump. Add that to our current cheat table. And let's hope that works. Okay, so here's our script. If we turn that on, all right, no collision. If I turn that off, then I'm dead. All right, so we've done it. We'll call this, sorry, I really shouldn't talk with my mouth full on a live show. Okay, so we'll call this no collision. So we know that's what we want. Let's get rid of these other values. I don't need those. All right, one more thing to do to make this game easier. So the jumping through here can be a little tedious, can be a little hard to get that quite right. So let's see if we can do something to make jumping easier. And what we're going to do is enable fly mode. And I may have gone through this last week. I don't remember. But essentially, when you jump in this game, there's a binary value. So 1 is jumping, 0 is not jumping. So that sets it to a 1, and now it's a 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to scan. Let's just look for a 4-byte value, looking for an exact value of 0. We'll do our first scan. We still have almost 4 million results, so there's a lot to look through, but we'll jump, I'll pause the game, and we're going to look through all of these values that are 0 and find any address that's now 1. So this dropped it down to 100. Let's unpause. Okay, so as long as we're still jumping, that's still going to be a 1. But then when we land, that's going to be a 0 again. Okay, so now we're down to just 2 values. And you can see that top one, when I jump, it's a 1. When I land, it's a 0. So let's find out what writes to this. Now this is interesting. We're not doing anything, but what this is doing is it's constantly writing 0 to this memory and address, or this address and memory. So you can see each time it's called, it's just continually doing it. But as soon as I jump, we can see where this is set to 1. So let's see where that is in memory. Now let's see what happens when we replace this with code that does nothing. So as long as I'm pressing the jump button, I can jump and I can keep jumping. So I basically have fly mode enabled, or double jump, or however, triple jump. I can just keep doing it. I don't have to touch the ground ever if I don't want to. So that seems to work. We'll store that with the original code. We will do the same thing we did before, and auto assemble, do a AOB injection. Again, AOB is an array of bytes. So this is the array of bytes it's using as a reference point to let us know where to start the injection. And this is where we're moving that value 1 into the memory location, where it's like checking to see if you're jumping. And we're just going to comment that out. And essentially what we're all right, let's assign that. So yeah, we're just going to make it think that once we jump, we're always jumping. Oh, all right, so we're working like normal. I enable that, and there we go. All right, let's... Okay, so there's something weird going on here. It's not letting me land. Oh, well, I don't want to debug that right now. Let's get the rest of these enabled. All right, so our cheat's a little buggy, but it works. So you can also assign these to hotkeys, so you can turn them off and on as you go. But yeah, as you notice, so I've enabled them all. You can see the enemies completely surround the door, so I couldn't finish this without a no collision cheat. But there we go. Now we've won. All right, so that was the 3rd game in the tutorial. I went through the other ones last week. And now let's look at something a little more interesting. So we're going to pull up Pwnadventures. Let's give this a minute to load. So Pwnadventures, this is Pwnadventures 3, Pwnie Island. This was a game that was released, I believe at ShmooCon a few years ago. If it'll launch. Oh man, I went through all this stuff earlier this morning and everything was working fine. And now, I guess that's what I get for using Windows, huh? All right, let's try this again. Okay, so this was an MMORPG. I think it was released in 2015. And there we go. I think it's launching now. But it was designed as part of a CTF, and the whole point was to try to hack it. In fact, you couldn't complete the challenges that were part of the CTF. You couldn't get the flags that were in this game without actually hacking the game. And there are some more advanced ways to to do this, but I'm just going to do some basic stuff with Cheat Engine. Okay, it's finally starting to load. Well, while we're waiting on that, we'll just switch gears real quick. If any of you have wondered where I get my cigars, there's a website I generally go to. So let's just switch over to that real quick, and then we'll come back to Pwnadventures. Cigarbid.com. They've got some great prices. This isn't a paid advertisement or anything. I'm just filling time. But yeah, so it's just an auction site for cigars. I usually like to do the free fall auctions. This is a pretty interesting concept. So you can find the cigars you're looking for, and we'll pull that up. So instead of having an auction that ends in 3 or 4 days that you have to pay attention to and try to snipe it at the last second, you can see the price is falling. So what they'll do, there's a range of prices that they'll sell these cigars for, and it'll go up to somewhere near the top value, and then it'll slowly start falling for about a minute or two, and then it resets and goes back to the top. So it kind of just goes back and forth like that. It's not always the same top value, and it's not always the same bottom value. So if you want to get the best price for your cigars, you just kind of need to watch it a bit and get an idea for what the top and the bottom are, and then figure out what you want to actually bid on, or what you want to buy on. And then when it gets to the value that you want, then you got to click buy now. But you got to be quick because it keeps dropping. And if we keep watching it in a second, it'll reset. Yeah, keep going. I must admit, I've spent hours on here just watching prices going up and down and figuring out the best price for whatever it is I'm looking for. But they also have just traditional auctions where like eBay, usually 4 or 5 days, and you just kind of watch for it. We should be getting close to the bottom now, and then it's going to reset. Any second now. And by the time it does, I'm sure Pwnadventures is loading. There we go. So the price resets. It's going to go back up to a higher value. There we go, and then it's going to start dropping again. So yeah, if you're looking to pick up some cigars, it's a nice place to go. Cigars International is also one people commonly use, but it's just a straight value. It doesn't do the auction kind of thing. Okay, so back to Pwnadventures, Pwnie Island. Let's see. Let me turn down my quality and all here. I don't need real high graphics for this. About to let my cigar go out. Okay. I don't know what I'm running on here today, but my computer is being a pain. Okay, so let's start this game. Let's hope this doesn't crash or anything. Oops. Yeah, sorry. The server's offline. This was for a CTF back in 2015. Like I said, they had the server up for a while after that, but it's done now. So we're just going to do a local single play. All right, we created a random character. This is pretty dark. We can kind of see what's going on here. Man, now my mouse isn't working right. Okay, is somebody hacking into me? What's going on? Fuck me. All right, let's put put this cigar down a minute. I'm gonna need my hands. Okay, let's see if I can. All right, you know what? I'm going to. It's Windows. Let's just reboot the freaking VM. What the heck? Traditional Windows solution to fixing problems. Turn it off and on again. Okay, so yeah, more unexpectedness today, but damn. All right, we'll give this a minute. So what I want to show with this is that the principles that we did during the tutorial, how we found those values in memory and the things that we changed, those same principles carry over to other games. I mean, they're a little more complicated. You know, we're dealing with a larger game than that little tutorial, but the basic principles really are the same. Okay, let's see if everything works now. All right, we'll launch Cheat Engine. I don't need Steam running. All right, let's try Pwnadventures again. Wait for that to launch. So yeah, now I'm starting to get into the second third of the cigar. Some of that leatheriness backed off. There's a bit of coffee. I'm actually getting a lot more pepper in this than I usually do. Let's see if I can get this game to run. Don't know if I've got anything else running on here that might be causing a problem. I don't suppose it'll let me kill that. Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, let's see. Maybe with medium quality, we'll actually get something we can see this time. All right, no server again, so let's go offline. Just creating a random character. All right. So our goal as we start the game is to get out of this cave. And yeah, this lighting isn't great, but let's go through here. Okay, we've got a Y in the cave here, so we're gonna go this way because the first thing I want to do is get infinite ammo. Now, flying in this game is going to be much more complicated than what we did with that little Cheat Engine demo game. Okay, my mouse is being weird again. All right, hold on. I'm going to check my VM settings. Let's just try to be careful here. Damn it, Windows. Well, hell. By the way, you should never game in a VM. Not if you want things to work properly. Okay, this might have to do with my screen size. Let's see. All right, let's just make this full size. See if that helps. Okay, that does. But that might have screwed up my OBS view. Let's see. Yeah, it did a little bit. All right. So let me resize this in OBS. Okay, so we're almost ready. All right. Sorry for that. I don't know why Windows is being a pain in the ass, except it's Windows. But hey, we ended up where I wanted to go. So we'll come over here, and there's a scroll, and it's going to teach us a spell. So I press E, and now I have fireballs. So you can see when I shoot a fireball, my mana goes down, and then it quickly goes back up. All right, so what I want to do to start off with is just get infinite mana. Because why not? I don't want to run out of mana when I want to cast fireballs. So we're going to attach to this. Now, thankfully, it gives us a value here, so this is going to be easy to find. We're going to start with an exact value of 100. That'll be our first scan. So we've got 7,000 locations in memory that currently have a value of 100. Now, since the mana increases rapidly after you use it, what we're going to do is just fire a couple fireballs, then search for something that's decreased. So we'll do a few of those. Then search for a decreased value. And then since it's increasing, we'll just keep going, increased value, increased value. All right, so we can see there's 3 values here that all seem to be related to mana. One of those is actually going to be the mana value. Another one's going to be for the HUD, and I'm not sure what the other one has to do. It's probably just a pointer. But we can trace all 3 of these. So let's find out what writes to this. So here's one of them that we're going to trace. Let's actually, I didn't need to do this separately. We can do this all at once. So we'll find out what writes to these. Oh, no, okay. That didn't work. Let's find out what writes to the second one. So the bottom one is the first address. This second one is the second address, and then we'll do this bottom one up here. Now you can see that 2 of these are constantly being written to. And now when I shoot my fireball, all right, then we can see that that really only affected this address here, which was this top one here, 310588C. So this is probably the value that we want to keep an eye on. So those other ones were just pointers. One, like I said, one was probably controlling the HUD, but what we saw was they were just moving some addresses around, and they were probably just watching for this actual value, just watching it to see when it's changed. So this first one, this was triggered when I cast Fireball, and then 4 times after that, this was called, which was probably bringing my mana back up to 100. So we'll test that again. I'll cast another Fireball so we can see, yeah, if you were watching, when I cast it, this was called once, and then this was called another 4 times each time the mana went up. So this is what we're looking for. And if we scroll up a bit, we can see what's happening here. So we've got, we're doing a subtraction. We're subtracting EDX from EAX. And then EAX is then moved into this space in memory. So if I were to guess, I would say that EDX is probably the mana cost of the spell. EAX is my current mana value. And then since that's been updated, it then moves EAX into the address location where the mana is stored. And then those other spaces we were looking at, they were pointers, and they're going to be watching this space, and when it changes, then they'll change other things like your HUD, for example. So if we want infinite mana, we just need to not subtract here. So we'll do the same thing we did before. Let's see, we'll do an auto assemble, do an AOB injection. And then we can just comment this line out. All right, let's assign that to our cheat table. Call this infinite mana. And we'll see if this works. There we go. Casting fireballs, but there's no mana cost now. Now, I don't know if that changes for different spells. I haven't really gone too far into this. But yeah, so there we've got infinite mana. It's using the same principles that we had done with the demo game. So you can see that works. But now let's get out of this cave. And we will, once we get out of this cave, we can find some enemies. And let's see if we can prevent ourselves from taking damage when we get hit by enemies. All right, so just browsing through this cave here. So we'll just take a minute, and then we'll get to get out of this cave into some sewer pipes and fight some rats. All right, just a little bit further, and there's going to be like a bush blocking our way. There it is. So we won't be able to get out without casting a fireball. So we'll cast our fireball, burns it. All right, we did our first quest. Completed. Now we'll jump in here, go into the sewer pipes, and there's a rat. All right, so you can see the rat's attacking me. My health's going down. Now I'm gonna kind of get out of the way over here. Yeah, okay. So one thing I've noticed that this particular location, when I'm over here, the rats can't get to me. So what I want to do is figure out what my health is. So we're going to do a new scan. We can see my health's already going up. Let's let my health replenish all the way first. I don't want to die and have to start all over. So we'll do a first scan for the 100. Then I want to come out here and let's see, take a bit of damage. All right, go back to my little corner. Now my health is 92, so let's search for 92. All right, we're down to 42. Take a little more damage. Oh. Okay, that guy got to me. We got to kill him before I'm dead. There we go. All right, so now my health is 36. Now it's 28. All right, looks like 42 is the best we can do here. So we're going to have to do some trial and error. Want to see what writes to these addresses. Yeah, you can see all of these seem to be related to health. As my health goes up, they're all going up as well. So let's remember it being one of these near the bottom. Let's start at the bottom. We'll find out what writes to this. Okay, and notice these are constantly being called. So these are probably all pointers. They're probably not what we're looking for. We'll try a few more. Next 3. All right. Yeah, these look the same. We'll keep going. There's only 42 to choose from. It shouldn't take too long. So yeah, one of the things about, I mean, any kind of reverse engineering, crack me's, especially game cheats, sometimes it just takes guessing and trial and error until you can find what it is you're looking for. Which is why they probably don't make great live demos, because you're just watching me try and fail over and over. But it's still instructional. Okay, we'll keep going. What was that? Control F6. Make that look quicker. All right, let's see. Control F6. We'll find out what writes to it. Now it'll only let me do this for 3 addresses at a time. That's why I keep launching 3 and closing them. So I'm pretty sure the actual health value doesn't have this constant something writing to it. But I could be wrong. About halfway through here. All right, so yeah, these are all looking almost the same. We're almost to the top. What should be the very top value? Yeah, I could have sworn when I tested this before it was like one of the bottom 3, but yeah, address space gets moved around every time you launch a program. All right, almost there. Okay, so these are all doing the same thing. So I'm going to have to try this a little bit differently. Let's see, will this work? No, it just launched one. Okay, let's see what happens when I take damage. Did any of those change? Nope, they didn't. Okay, so it's not one of these. So yeah, if we could actually had an exact memory location, this would be easier. But yeah, things change, so we got to keep trial and error. Take some more damage. All right, none of those changed again. So I'm doing Control F6, which is find out what writes to this address. All right, take some more damage. Let's see, there should be a rat around here somewhere. Not one of those. And we keep trying till we find the address we're looking for. So yeah, when we take damage, there should be another address that's called, another instruction that's called. Besides these, so we'll just keep trying. There's probably another way we could do this. We could probably find the these instructions and see what else is writing to them. But this should work. All right, almost done with the list. Wishing I'd started from the top down this time. All right, I'm gonna give myself a second to heal so I don't die, in which case I'll start over and have to come back. Plus, when I heal, we should also see the address changed. See a new instruction being called, which we don't. All right. Need my hands back. Where's a rat? Hit me, rat. Still nothing. Still nothing. Do that. Oh, I got killed. Should have been paying more attention to the game. Okay, let's respawn. Let's see, where am I? All right, so I'm not that far off. Let's get over here where I'm safe-ish. All right, where were we? think we were somewhere around here. Only 2 options left. It's not one of these, then we may have to start the whole thing over. Okay, it's not one of those. So let's see, what else can we do? Let's find out what address this instruction set accesses. And there are a lot of addresses. Yeah, and these are all the pointers that we saw before. Doesn't really narrow things down any. Tracing that was giving us a lot of problems. Okay, let's try this again. All right, something else we can do. This might be easier. Should have thought about this. We're going to add all those to our list. And then highlight them all and select them. So this should freeze the value. And it didn't. Okay, so I must have missed the initial value when we did our scan before. So we're going to start over. Do our first scan, our health is 84. All right, it is increasing. We now know it's exactly 100. Okay, now we're down to 5 addresses. Oh, let's get out of the way of this rat before he kills me. Okay, so there were a few values here that were changing. These are probably not it. Let's delete all these. Okay, still got my infinite mana. Okay, these top 2 seem to get set before the others. Let's see if freezing them makes a difference. Oh, I need more rats. Should spawn pretty quickly, I believe. Okay, so that did work, freezing those 2 values. So we've narrowed it down to 2. You can see as I take damage, I'm taking the damage, but Cheat Engine is trying to keep that value at 100, so it keeps resetting. So let's go back to Cheat Engine. I will disable one of these. There we go. So this is the value we're looking for. Let's find out what writes to this address. Okay, that's what I was looking for. So every time I get hit, there's a subtraction that occurs. Now, we can do what we've done before, where we, let's say, replace this with code that does nothing. I need to, let's see, go back here, turn this freezing off. But now this subtraction isn't occurring, so my health isn't changing. But the other thing this is done now, so I can no longer kill enemies either. So what we've done is we've just disabled the ability for damage to be taken by, you know, PCs or NPCs. So we want to do a little more digging. We want to find out what other address spaces. Let's get back where we're safe so I don't die again while doing this. Okay, here come the rats. Make sure they can't get to me. Okay. So this function, we're going to restore it because I'd replaced it with NOPS before, or no instruction, no operation. So we've still got that subtraction. So we take the damage, it subtracts it from our health. Let's find out what other addresses this instruction accesses. So let's see. I'm going to fire at this rat. I'm going to actually hit it this time. There we go. I hit that one. I hit another one. And then I got hit. All right, let's kill these things. So there's one function that's being called, but there's something different addresses depending on which object is taking the damage. Oh, I died again. That's fine. So this address, this was me. This was one of the rats, as well as these other values. Let's look at these in memory. All right, let's see. I think we want to dissect this. All right, so you can see here, we've got a string, giant rat, or player. Yeah, what we're trying to do here is we're looking for values that are unique to the player, but not to the enemies. And I believe I went through the Cheat Engine. One of the second tutorial game had something very similar to this. And I think this is what we're looking for. So we can see that the rats each have a 1 set in this value, but as a player, I have a 0. So I believe what we want to do is add a check to see if this address space is 0, in which case I don't take damage, but if it's something else, then we do take damage. So we're going to go back to our instruction set here. We're going to auto assemble, do our AOB injection again. Let's make a new section here. We're going to add a label. We'll call it die. And this is, again, if you go back and watch last week, pretty much exactly what I did in the second tutorial game. So we're going to copy that here. So this is what happens when I actually want somebody to die. But instead of subtracting it, I want to do a 1-hit kill. So instead of subtracting a value from that address space, I'm just going to move a 0 into it. And then I'm going to, let's see, we want to compare, and let's see. So all this is a offset relative to EDI. So EDI 30 is our health. So our health is at 64, or at least it was. So what we want to do is see if EDI plus 38 is 0. So we're going to compare that to 0. Actually, no, we want to compare that to 1. And then if it is equal to 1, or you know what, there might be other values. Maybe one's a rat. I don't know. So we'll compare it to 0, and if it's not equal, then we'll jump to die. And then if it is 0, we continue. We'll comment out the subtraction. So yeah, so we're comparing that particular address space to see if it's equal to 0. If it is not, so if it's not equal to 0, we jump to die, in which case we set the object's health to 0. All right, let's see if this works. And where am I? Oh, that's right, I had died. Okay, so there's a rat. He's chewing away at me. My health's not going down. Now I'm going to shoot at him. And he's instantly dead. All right, success. Finally, something worked like as intended. It's another rat. He keeps trying to kill me. I'm not taking damage. One shot, he's dead. It works. Ta-da. All right. Man, this has been quite the episode. Nothing's working right for me today. All right, well that's it for today. I do want to dig into Pwnadventures some more. So there's some more advanced cheats we can do with that outside of just what's in Cheat Engine. So I'm going to spend some time digging into that, and maybe I'll actually take some notes this time instead of just making it up as I go. And yeah, we'll spend some more time looking into Pwnadventures. It's a great resource for learning how to disassemble and learning how to do game cheats in particular, because that's what it was written for. And it's also kind of what inspired the idea that the others project that I'm working on that is still, maybe 6 to 8 months away. Hack or Die, which is a game that I'm working on. It's going to be just a 2D platformer, but it's the same basic principle where you're going to run into situations where you can't complete the game without cheating. Eventually we'll have a CTF around that and everything. So that is coming up sometime in 2021. As I actually get some work done, I will let you know. Have I used Cheat Engine on non-games? I have not. That's actually a good idea, and I thought it might be useful for some things. I'm going to look into that. I think it might be good for some from CrackMe's, so I'll take a look at that as well. Maybe look at some of the CrackMe's we've done in the past and see if Cheat Engine might be a good way to trace what's going on in there. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool tool. I like the way it makes it easy to find stuff in memory and then be able to edit it and modify it on the fly. It's a very simple interface, very easy to use. The tutorial walks you through things pretty well on that tutorial game. There are a ton of videos that other people have done as well on how to go through the tutorial game, and there's also like an extra section I didn't go through where it does some checking to see if you've modified anything in memory, and it actually like detects that. So there's some tutorials out there that also go through that and how to bypass that sort of cheat detection that's built into it. So yeah, that's all I really got time for today. So thanks everybody. If you want to watch other content I put together, you've obviously already found something, but yeah, I've got the Twitch channel, the CTF and Cigars. I've also got a YouTube channel where I'm just archiving all this stuff so we can keep it longer than what Twitch will allow. Everything, there's links to all of my content on bamctf.com. That's BAMCTF.com. You can go there. You can find links to both my Twitch channel and the YouTube channel, as well as my Twitter account, which is just @BAMCTF, where I try to make posts about updates to new content, upcoming stuff, that kind of thing. There will be some actual CTFs that I'll be putting on once I find the time to actually get the logistics put together. I've got some ideas actually, because I've been kind of doing this video game cheat stuff. The next CTF I'm putting together is going to be video game themed. So I'm setting up some game servers that are vulnerable, and there's actually going to be some exploits you can run. My intent is to actually like live stream through the whole CTF. So we'll do that all in one day and play some games. So I'll get some friends on and we'll play some of the games that y'all are going to try to hack. Like I said, I really just need to set a date and start working on the logistics for that, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. But as soon as I do, I will let you know. I'll set a date. We'll put it up on CTF time as well, so that other people can get involved. And yeah, I think that is about it for this week. So thanks again for watching. And if you're ever doing a CTF and you get stuck, don't forget to try harder, don't panic, and always RTFM. Thanks, guys, and I will see you next time.
It's a madman.